Acrebooks. I have with me Joe Darko. He is author of Understanding Relationships 101. Hi, Joe. Thank you for doing this. How are you doing?
Hey Sal, I'm good, and thank you for actually allowing me to come for this interview.
Man, the pleasure is all mine. I'm excited to get into this.
Thank you.
So, Joe, to get started, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to.
Well, I was born in Ghana, and I grew up in the States as well. And I went to Wheaton High School, went to Penn State University, and that's where I met you, Sal,
Yeah.
and your wife, and your future kid. I met you guys at Penn State. And after Penn State, I started working for Microsoft, and I've been with Microsoft for the past 3 years now. So that's what I do now. I just write and work.
That's cool. Tell us, you know what, how does it feel to work at Microsoft? I'm sure some of our viewers want to know.
It feels great. I feel like it's a great place to start your career. They really do their best to train you well, especially if you're coming straight from college. They have a program in place to basically train you well and to get you acclimated to the corporate world, to the corporate
Uh-huh.
culture. So
Uh-huh.
you learn a lot. The first year or so is like basically finding the host kind of learning. You're learning through the fire, and they
Yeah.
feed a lot of information, so you learn. But I really enjoy what I do for this company, and I like what we're doing for our clients, our enterprise customers, and known people like myself and other people as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I use Microsoft products, so thank you for your hard work, man. All
You're welcome.
right. So understanding relationships 101. What was your motivation for writing this book?
That's a good question, Sal. So people just think some people back in the day they thought, oh well, this guy just got up and wrote a book. Some people now actually think I just got up and wrote a book on relationships. I wouldn't do that. That is crazy. You basically setting yourself up because you understand relationships are very complicated. There's
Yeah.
not a one size fit all. So
Yeah.
the moment you
Yeah.
put yourself out there to share your ideas, you ask yourself to be crucified.
Mhm.
So actually, my friends in college, I remember I was a junior in college, and I had a roommate, and he was going through some relationship stuff, and every single time he would come to me and talk to me, and I would advise him. And for some reason, he enjoyed my advice. He felt like it was sound, it was great. So he told me, Joe, write a book. I ignored him for a year. Then other friends started coming to me. They were like, hey, you should write a book on relationships. Share your ideas to the rest of the world. I still pushed back. Then eventually, I think one day I was just sitting in my room. I'm like, hey, what do I have to lose? Let me just share people my idea. I don't care if I get crucified for it, get called out for it, get called the next Dr. Phil. I don't care. It's just my insight, my idea to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
I don't care how it's going to be received, but I have to make sure it has some information that maybe the youth of today, that young adults can learn from.
Hmm. Cool. And I've read it, and I can corroborate that it's a great book for the youth and young adults. You mentioned, Joe, you wrote this book when you were in college, right?
Yes.
So I am sure some of your readers who are watching this and some of our viewers are college students or just graduated, and they've had ideas to write books. What were the challenges as a student studying, getting a degree, to write the book and publishing it? I mean, what were
it
some of the challenges you had to overcome?
I feel like balance of schoolwork and your personal projects. I think that was that was the main challenge because, Sel, to be honest with you, sometimes I was not getting any sleep. I'll go to class really drained out and tired, but at the same time, I had to make sure I'm getting something from class. And
Hmm.
when I come back, I'll take like an hour nap. I have meetings as well because I was also involved with campus activities. So it was
Hmm.
tough. And I think for months, close to a year, I was not sleeping. And the moment the book was
Wow.
published, Sal, I slept for about 12 to 14 hours straight. And that was the best sleep of my life.
Yeah.
And I think the most difficult aspect is actually you being a student, you're learning something and you trying to let people actually, whatever you learn, you trying to bring it out to people. So, of course, I was taking English classes. I was
Hmm.
learning how to structure sentences, of course, at a higher level
Yeah.
because I was then a junior. And
Hmm.
then you try and put it all together in a book and you're definitely not gonna get it right. So that was also tough
Yeah.
as well. So I had to get help from other friends, friends who were
Hmm.
like English majors, so actually edit the book for me, and trying to find those people who are willing to give their time. And trust me, they were supposed to give like less than 10 hours to try to
Yeah.
edit. They were complaining. I'm like, I spent hours writing a book. What do you But at the end of the day, I convinced some friends to do that, and it worked out
Hmm.
pretty well. So I feel like time management, finding the right people to help you and support you, was also key.
That's really good. And it sounds like you built a little team of people who believed in what you were doing, who came alongside you. And I think that's a key to succeeding at a lot of things. Wow, That's really profound. So, have you had any encounters where you know, and I know a little bit about this. I want you to tell our audience about this, but you met somebody who read your book, and what was that like? Meeting somebody who read your book that you spent so much time and put your vulnerability into.
It's actually interesting because sometimes we have Facebook friends, and these friends are really people that we probably do not know, right?
Hmm.
We just add them because maybe they're cool or they think we're cool,
Yeah.
and eventually you get to meet them because sometimes you travel for meetings, work, and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
one time I went to a place to speak, and I think it was this small church, and one of the young adult leaders in the church actually came to me. He's like, "Hey, I read your book. You're Joe Darko, the guy from Facebook." I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, I read your book. I'm like, oh wow, what do you think about the book? He's
Yeah.
like, I wish it was longer because it's very, very
Oh.
good. And I told him, I'm like, you know what? I cannot write for that long. This took me 8 months. You want me to write another 8 months to basically double the size of the work? And I told him, like, hey, it's for college students that they already have a lot of books to read, and I just
Mm,
want to make it short. And
yeah.
he liked the idea. So this guy eventually put together another program for his church about relationships because
Wow.
he felt that the youth or this generation were not getting the right ideas when it comes to relationship.
Hmm.
They were being forced to do things they don't want to do. They didn't know how to say yes or when to say yes and when to say no and how to say no. So he felt like this book did a good job explaining things in depth about relationships. Why do we want to relate? What's to look for in a girl or a guy? Let's face it, we're all gonna like somebody, of the opposite sex, one or the other.
Yeah.
But how do we approach it in a very respectful way?
Yeah.
How do we respect women? How do we, as men, also expect women to respect us? So
Yeah.
it's all in the book, and he liked it a lot.
Yeah. That's the honor factor. How do we honor each other in relationship?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you mentioned to me that you're gonna do a rewrite of this book, re-release, and we were talking a little bit about that. And you mentioned you've learned some new things since you wrote this book. So I'm gonna
Yep.
put you on the spot, man. Tell me maybe two new things, or maybe new revelations you've gotten about relationships that you're gonna put in your give our audience a teaser.
So one thing I wrote in the first book, I talked about love a lot, right? But I really did not do a good job, and I'll be very honest. I'm a very honest guy to myself, especially. I did not do a good job explaining what love, is or was in that book. And I
Mm.
believe that sometimes we get confused with infatuation and love,
Mm.
you
That's
know,
true. That's
and
true.
and it's like typhoid and fever. Sometimes you don't know what it is. You have to give it time. You have to wait it out before you can
Yeah.
figure it out, right? And even doctors cannot figure it out on the get
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Then those are
Exactly.
experts, exactly. So sometimes we get confused about what is love, what is infatuation.
Yeah.
What is love or what is lust. And I believe that love is a decision, and that's something I've realized. And I've actually talked to people who've been married for years, and they tell you it's a decision because they
Mm.
wake up every day to decide to love their wife or husbands because they can also
Mm.
decide to leave. But because
Yeah.
they've made a decision every day to love them, they decide to stay true to God because they made a commitment to God and to
Yeah.
people who were witnesses to these commitments. So love at the
Yeah.
end of the day is a decision, and that's something I have learned. And it's amazing when I talk to kids, they don't get it. What do you mean it's a decision? I have feelings for Michael. I like yeah, yeah, you have feelings for Michael. It's part of it, right? We should not take out the
Yeah.
emotional aspect of it as well. It's part of it. But at the end of the day, those feelings are not always going to be there. What if you're mad at Michael? What are you going to do? Are you going to
Yeah.
decide to love Michael? And then that's when everything clicks. Oh, you're right, Joe.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, secondly, one thing I've learned is no one knows all the answers when it comes to relationships.
Hmm.
No one. So I will not have all the answers. Someone married for 9 years will not have all the answers, and whatever they are doing will not necessarily or perfectly work for you. At the
Hmm.
end of the day, you're dealing with somebody else. So sometimes what I've learned is keep your issues together. Don't spread them out. Even
Yeah.
if you're gonna seek counsel from anybody, seek someone who's wise, who's
Hmm.
been there, done that. But at the same time, you remember you're only listening to them. Don't take everything they say with a grain of salt. You're only listening to them, and you're gonna take what will work for you and your partner.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I've learned. So there are a lot of young couples. What they do is they go to everybody for everything, and
Hmm.
eventually they try to take piece of everybody's advice, and it causes a disaster. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, you two are unique. You're in a unique relationship. Try to make it work for yourself, and that's something I've learned as well. And to be honest, Sal, my workplace, I interact with clients all the time. I build relations with clients, and I realize that what my coworker is doing with his clients is totally different from what I'm doing with my
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah.
It works for me, and the moment I try to pick up on what he does, it starts to go downhill. So
Yeah.
that's something I've learned about relationship. It's unique, and it's unique to you and the person you are in a relationship with.
Yeah. Wow, that's profound. You just gave us two chapters right there of the re-release. Wow, I'm excited. I'm excited, and let us know definitely when you have this book ready to go, and we will definitely let our audience know about it.
Sure, and it will come after my second book. I have a next book coming. I talked to you about it as well, so it'll
Yeah.
come right after that. So I think I
Tell
need
us,
to get
tell,
ready.
tell the audience real quick about that second book.
Oh, so the second book is titled Baby, and it's an acronym for Becoming a Better You.
Yeah.
And and I'm not the best person, and I always say I'm not the best person to even write this book. But yeah, a lot of things I've learned over time, and you saw I learned a lot of things from you in college. I've learned a lot of things from my godfather. I've learned a lot of things from my my mentors as well, and even my mentees. And what this book is all about is one is geared towards college students and high school students.
Hmm.
They always want to change the world. They have this heart. I want to change the world. And then I ask them, have you changed yourself first? So sometimes I go on, so let's say I can go on Facebook and write a status like, oh, I was talking to one of my kids and he said he want to change the world. And I asked them, have you changed yourself first? And people don't understand what is behind the scenes, why I came up
Yeah.
with that statement.
Yeah.
And you have 40 people like it and they think, oh my God, that's a cool statement. And I'm like, wait, but there's a story behind it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the whole book is basically a storytelling based on some of the things I've said, or my godfather I've said, or I've heard friends say, and I just
Okay.
expand on it. So I basically go in depth and try to build context around it so people can understand it, so they can use that to better themselves. So the
Wow.
same advice I'm giving to one person, you're gonna have 1,000 people receiving the same advice at the same time
That's
in one
profound.
book.
Baby, huh? It's the title.
Yep, baby.
Baby. Well, we can't wait for that. That's you got to get that done. Don't take 8 months.
Yes, this actually is almost done. To be honest, it's like 70% done. I just need to add some final touches, and it's also going to be a short book. I
Yeah.
don't want to overwhelm these kids. They already have a lot going on. Just quick
Yeah.
read, get some few wisdom and knowledge, and impart it in others as well. So it's going to be another short one.
Well, great. Well, Joe, thank you for your time, man. I know you're a busy guy, and thank you so much for taking time to talk with us and our audience here. Any parting comments or thoughts, nuggets?
That will be from you, man. I feel like last time I talked to you, you encouraged me so much, and I feel like at the end of the day, we all need some encouragement here and there, right? And
Yeah.
one thing I'll say to our audience is that, hey, whatever that God has placed in your hands, whatever God has given to you is a responsibility. Try to take care of your responsibility in the name of God. Enjoy doing it. It's not going to be easy. Trust me. You will fall, you will break down, but at the end of the day, God will show Himself to you through the what He has given you. So just enjoy. And I know you actually you advise me, and I've thought about it. I'm like, man, there's a lot of work, but it's something God has entrusted me with. I believe so.
Yeah.
So I need to get it done.
Yeah. Wow. Great. Well, on that note, guys, this is all the time we've got for you. Thank you for joining us for this interview. We will have Joe's books with an S, available very soon for purchase on acrebooks.com. If you want to check him out, we'll have links below that you can follow him, what he's doing. He's doing some incredible things we didn't have all the time to get into. But thank you, Joe, for your time. Really, we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sal. Thank you for having me.